Hey, I'm Supats, lifelong solopreneur. Now living my life with only one passion to help solopreneurs to launch their digital products on fast track so that they can be profitable as fast as within 1 week, and they want to scale, they can join the membership. And as a bonus, I show them how they can sell their digital products all over the world using affiliates. Without further delay, let's get started. In the business world, I always come across with people and they tell me, I'm too old to start business. I'm just too old to do anything. And I am not happy with my life, but I'm not sure whether I will ever get a second chance. I just don't know. And you might be having all these questions, but no, today I got answers for all these questions. And we have John who will answer all these questions because he has really inspiring story. We had a casual meeting and he does really amazing work that I have never come across with anyone else doing that work. And that's why his profile really impressed me. I want to present you John. Here is John.
Good morning to you. I'm
Thank
very glad to
you.
be with you this
Thank
morning.
you. So, just wanted to ask you, what really inspired you to start Good Samaritan?
Well, it was not something I said. This is my dream, my goal. It was. I spent 30 years making a lot of detours because I came out of the 1960s and it was a very confusing time, and we were actually it was very similar to the confusion of right now with young people. There's protest, there's anger, there's violence, there's distrust of government, and I grew up with that. And it took me even 30 years to get into a voting booth because I was so disoriented, which was common with my generation. And it wasn't until I was 53, after 8
Hmm.
different detours, I call them, and I'm being polite, failed career choices. I had even been homeless at one point. When I met my wife, I was living in a truck and they repossessed it, but she married me anyway. But she said, "You will get a job, cowboy." So, what happened was I went from a salesman, a building contractor, a journalist, and I had all these detours that I never quite got my niche until I was 53. We had moved through 3 states. I had disrupted my family. Finally, my wife and I said, let's do something out of the box, something different. Let's help others who are struggling as much as we have. And so we used our home, we remodeled it as a shelter, and we took people in who were homeless and tried to help them get the chances that we wanted to have early on. And eventually, that led to us working with the Department of Correction, offering housing temporarily for low risk offenders. The idea is if somebody is working, they won't be in jail. And if they're not in jail, then they're paying taxes. And we all want that. We want people to be taxpayers, not tax burdens. And so, in helping others who were struggling more than us, we ended up creating a corporation that now has 19 houses, and we have helped 2,500 men and women restart their lives over the past 25 years. So uh, what I thought were detours actually were preparation, and that now is my message: is that as long as you keep moving, keep running, keep trying something new, you never know what door will open tomorrow.
Absolutely right.
Just
I
keep
have a
trying.
friend. So, whenever she has any work at her home or backyard or anything, she goes to the homeless community and she hires people from there and she gives them a job. and she gives them a job, she gives them food, she tries to help them every possible way. But then all other friends in my group, they're so much against it because they have this dogma that homeless people means criminals. So, what is your opinion about that? Because I really feel, means she is trying to help them, and I really feel it is really pure and gentle soul. Her intentions are so good, and it is really amazing. And there are some people, even they criticized her, saying that, oh, she doesn't want to pay the full professional money, so she gets homeless people and then she doesn't pay them enough. And other people are saying, I don't know why she's calling them, because they might be criminals. So what is your opinion about that?
The actor Robin Williams in Hollywood, very successful, very well received, very talented. On every picture he made, he always made a point of pulling people off the street and offering them something to do in the movie. He offered them temporary work and food because he felt that there, but for the grace of God, go you and I. And particularly in the acting business, because there are more
I know,
starving
no.
actors than there are successful. But I think as far as your friend, what she's doing, I think is quite good. But we have to be what we have a saying in the Bible that we have to be wise as serpents, but gentle as doves. And she's gentle, and I would caution her to always be wise in what she does. I wouldn't bring somebody into her home without support or oversight, because not that the homeless are dangerous any more so than anybody else in your neighborhood, but they're unknown. So you just have to be wise. And what we did initially, using our own home, was not wise, but we had no money and no choice, and we were leading with our passion. But within a year, we had purchased a house across the street and remodeled it. And that was
So
much,
what
much
kind of
safer.
experiences you got when you started getting these homeless people into your home, and what happened? Did your life change? I just want to know your story.
I think probably the biggest thing that happened was that you begin to see yourself in others and others in you, because particularly there's a feeling in the white community that all criminals are black and from the ghetto. But we've found that the majority of people in prison are white, and they're not necessarily from the cities, they're from all the rural areas too, particularly with drugs. And a major factor in prison is mental health. And what we closed down the mental health housing facilities a generation ago, and the jails have become the mental health facilities today. And they don't do anything to help somebody. They
Huh.
simply put you in a closet. And so what we do is we offer a safe housing, and then we connect them with mental health resources like the counseling and the therapy, and also job and family services, the county services. So we partner with people who are good at these specific issues, but we offer them the housing. So together we can, I think, make the
That's
community
so
safer.
true. I remember there is really one old movie in Bollywood. If you get a chance, I think you should watch it. Though it is in Hindi, but I think they can have English subtitles. But you will understand the movie. The movie is produced and directed by really well-known V. Shantaram, and his movie is based on he he just wanted to create reforms. So he takes 12 really known criminals. I'm not saying homeless are criminal, but I'm just giving you the movie information. And then he says, I will bring out the goodness in them. and he actually makes them work, and he gives everyone the all these 12 were actually murderers, the killers, and he gives them the same weapon they used to kill. But here he said, no, you have to use this weapon for good cause. And at the end of the movie, and it is based on the real
Hmm.
story, and at the end of the movie, the person who tries to bring the reform, actually he gets killed, but these all these 12 people, they become a really good citizens. And that was a really a way time ahead of time movie, but it was very famous. I think if you get a chance, you should watch it, because that was a really great message. And I really want to applaud your work, because it is not common, it is not norm. I haven't seen anyone doing this work. So how many people have you helped, and how many years
The
this is going on?
We started in 2001, and so we've been doing this for 24 years, 23 years. But we've grown from our own house to now 19 different houses with 10 staff members. So on any given day, we will have
Wow.
80 people living with us. And um, now it's not just free living, it's not just cheap rent. The idea is accountability, because we partner with the Department of Correction, and it's not a halfway house, it's independent housing. So we have what we call monitoring, where you have a curfew, you have housekeeping responsibilities. What we try to teach is basic cooperation with your roommates, because that to me is the first step in rehabilitation. It's respect for your roommate, respect for us, and respect for yourself. And someone can stay with us for 3 months, 6 months, or a year. We had one fella who stayed
Ooh.
with us for 14 years. He was 67 years old when he came. He had mental health issues, and the VOA hospital, or the VA hospital, sent him to us, and they guaranteed they would keep him on his meds if we could house him. And he was living in a truck in the winter when it broke down, and he almost died. So when we took him in, he had been homeless virtually all of his life, and he stayed with us 14 years. And when he died last year, he said to us just prior, "This was the only home
Oh
I ever
man.
had." And
So
Jimmy died safe.
I know,
And
I know. So
that
you
to me
are
is what it's
bringing
about.
so much goodness into the community. So how much government is helping you? Because this is the big problem government has. You go anywhere, you go to Seattle, you go to LA, you go to San Francisco, you will see so many homeless people on the road, and I have no idea what government is doing. But you are doing such a great job. So what government is doing to help you?
Well, to be candid, the homeless situation, what we call off the street, I think is much more difficult because there's not the accountability. But the people we deal with are a subset of that. They are on parole. They're coming from prison, so the parole officer has, I hate to say this, but they has them on a leash, and because parole is an extension of prison, even though you're in the community. So it costs $109 a day to house somebody in prison. So the state of Ohio will contract with us for a fraction of that, and they give us what we call a per diem for each person. And so they're able to save 60, 70, 80% of what it costs, and we're able to help locally, and then our residents are able to work and pay taxes and pay child support. So the money stays in the community. So we don't take donations as such, because technically we are a contractor with the state of Ohio, and we are able to save the state money, and they are able to save their own monies by reducing housing costs. So
Yeah, I
it's actually
clearly see it is a
win-win for
win-win,
everybody.
and I really think you are very courageous to take this action. But it's amazingly good karma, and though we are, this is the last question about homeless people, because I have personally worked a lot with homeless people because I was a president of a non-profit company, and we tried to help homeless people a lot, and we tried to bring them to shelter, and they refuse to go to shelter because they say if they go to shelter they will lose all their belongings. And so
That's true.
we couldn't even provide provide food to shelters, because many times actually previously when we had leftover party food, we took it to shelter and shelter took it. But now they are not taking it because of rules change, because of lot of liabilities and all. So every time I tried to do any work in this field, I always felt my hands were tied. I couldn't do what I really wanted to do. So did you ever feel that way?
When we started, in my innocence, we thought that the community would welcome what we were doing, but there was a tremendous blowback. And there were petitions from neighbors, there were letters to the editor, there were threats, there were ordinances passed. I had police protection at one point, it was so dangerous. And we ended up suing the city 3 times. But eventually, yes, we won those issues in court. But what happened was that people saw that we were not a threat to the neighborhood because number one, we kept our house clean and quiet. And number two, whenever it snowed, we always cleaned the entire neighborhood streets. And without saying a word, we said volumes about what we were trying to do in the community. And eventually, those people who were critics became supporters. Now, maybe grudging supporters, but they're still supporters. So I, I used to talk about the data and give statistics, but nobody listens to statistics. What they listen to is, did Jimmy make it? Is Jimmy off the street? Or when they met Walter, Walter was 9 years in prison. When he was 16 years old, he was arrested, and he came to us at 26 with no skills. And he was hired at a local winery as a laborer. And
Wow.
today he's a manager there. And he has a family and he bought a house. So he became part of the community. That says
What
volumes
about the
about
hiring
rehabilitation.
situation? Because many businesses, they are reluctant to hire someone came from a prison. What is your experience?
Uh, Often, I would say 50% of the employers will not hire you if you have a felony, and if it's one drug related or theft related, because that becomes a business issue. Or if it's sex or violence related, that becomes a safety issue, particularly if they hire other minors or females. So that limits where you can work. But factories, construction, that sort of thing. Uh, it, Most of our homes are in the Dayton region, which is a larger city, and there are companies that have factories, and they are much more willing to hire people, and particularly their tax incentives right now. So they get supplement from the government, part of the reentry initiative. So what I would tell people is, you will have a hard time getting a job, but you can get a job. You just have to work harder
You
and
know,
longer at
you
it.
told me, so I'm asking, but from looking at you, it doesn't look like that you lived through 1960s to this. But yeah, means you look really young, maybe because of the work you are doing that is keeping you young. But what about the political and social issues? You must have faced so many changes, and do you think it is going in the right direction? So Can you just tell your journey from 1960 to today and just elaborate?
Mhm. I, I've seen enough changes in my lifetime to let me realize that life is cyclical. We like to think it's always going in one direction, either up or down, but I see a lot of repeat. Just for example, on the stock market, I've lived through, and I'm not a wealthy investor at all, but I see my $5 go up and down in the stock market, and today I may have five, and tomorrow I may have three. But we just keep thinking long-term retirement, long-term investment, and that's what the age has taught me, that life is not a sprint where you make your success by the time you're 25. I used to think that anybody over 30 was old, but I've realized
Wow,
that
you look
I'm
good.
76 right now, but I feel, well, I feel like I'm 36. And my schedule is, I'm running three or four different things at the same time. And these podcasts, for example, I'm having a ball talking about this because I get to share some positive news at a time when people are inundated with negative news. A good example of this is the Haitian dog and cat eating community in Ohio. That was out of nowhere, and it was nothing, and it was just 30 miles from us. And I know that community, and I know that emotional reaction, and politicians grabbed on it and they just ran with it because people are looking for a reason to be afraid and angry. And so what the Haitian community did was they just went to work. They just were good neighbors. And I think right now it reminds me a great deal of 1968, when we had all of that unrest, all of that anger, and there were protesters on the left demanding to shut the government down. There were protesters on the right demanding that they all be shipped out of the country and bring America back to the God fearing country it was in 1946, we said. But both sides were acting out of fear. And fortunately, we had Jimmy Carter come in and he brought a calmness to it, and Ronald Reagan brought a calmness to it. But then when the World Trade Center was bombed, we went back to 1968. And now everybody who doesn't look like us is suspect. And so what I feel is an opportunity now to be an example of inclusion and acceptance and second chances. And I feel I need another 20 years. So if I can last until I'm 96, maybe I can
You
pass
know,
on
you will surely,
maybe this
because the
message.
negative energy drains us down, and you are so much full of positive. So you will achieve all your dreams really in this lifetime. That's
Uh, well, if you look behind me, you'll see these pictures on the wall.
wow.
Those are mountains that I've been climbing
Wow.
lately. Yeah. I was up in Mount Whitney in your area just last year. And I'll tell you what, though, I felt every bit of my 75 years then.
Hey, but it is a great achievement, no doubt about it, and you must be really proud of yourself. So, how are you going?
Well, I thank God. I thank God for the grace to have another
So, how
chance,
are you
another
sharing
opportunity.
all this message with the world? I know you have written a book. So, will you please tell us more about what your book is about?
Well, the book is fiction, and it's not about me necessarily, but it's about my life cycle, I suppose. But it's a story of Daniel Robinson, and he had what I call a Forrest Gump type of life, where he came from a struggle to be accepted and to be normal, and he went through this period in history where he was part of, but yet learning from all the struggles we went through. So the book starts in 1960, and it travels through Vietnam, through the hippie involvement, through all the struggles in the 80s. But it's really about Daniel trying to overcome his family abuse, his sexual abuse, his disconnection. He was looking for a second chance. At one point, he was in his room alone in college, and he said, I just want to be normal. Why can't I be like everybody else? And I've said that, and I'm sure that you've said it at one time or another. We all think we're not normal in some way. And Daniel eventually found what he was looking for, but it always has a price. And the story it's called Running as Fast as I Can. And the idea is that he was running so fast, but not getting anywhere because he didn't know what to do. And eventually he met Kate, and
So is it
together they
running
learned to
in
walk
place or
straight.
running in the wrong direction? How was this running going on?
Well, he wasn't physically running, but he was emotionally running because here's what we say to people: go get a job, just settle down. But the people I deal with, and my life, we don't know how to get a job or where to get a job. We need somebody to say, here's step one, here's step two, or in my case, here's how you keep that job and make a career of it, like I have done lately. So people need mentors, they need teachers. And in our individualistic society, we think we can do it on our own, and we can't. So Daniel learned to get help. And the idea is that life is not perfect. And he found that the struggles actually made him stronger, like a broken arm. When it heals, that arm is actually stronger. But in the short
Painful.
term, it's very difficult. So the idea is that people are resonating with this idea of second chances. And the book has garnered 26
Wow.
awards. So I'm very pleased with that. Very pleased. And it's sold very well. I've been really taken aback by it because the readers have said, I identified with Daniel. I felt Daniel. I cried with Daniel. One man was 91 years old, and he wrote me and he said, I stayed up till 3 in the morning because I couldn't
Wow.
put the book down. So the idea is to use this story and to tell the story of second chances in a way that readers will identify with it.
No, surely
That's
it is
my
a
hope.
really great work. So if I want to buy this book, where can I find it?
It's very easy on Amazon. What I would recommend, you can either go directly to Amazon and look for Running as Fast as I Can, or you can go to my website, johndavidgraham.com, and it'll link you to Good Samaritan Home or to Amazon or to any of these podcasts. So I would, and you can
Sure,
even
no doubt
contact me
about
through
it.
my website. I've had people call and say, people have written me and said, I need some advice on
You
this,
know, there
and
are
I'll answer
many
them.
bestsellers book means when they went for publishing, they were rejected by hundreds of people. You take any name, for example, Chicken Soup for Soul or even J.K. Rowling said so many. So, what is your experience in
Yep,
publishing?
that's right. Well, I wrote the story and I took 10 years to write it. And I had an editor work and work and work with me for the last 2 years until we had what we knew to be a good book. And it was rejected again and again and again by agents and by publishers. I began to think that it would never sell and it was a bad book until we formed our own publishing company called Don Quixote Press because it's about tilting at windmills. And I see myself as Don Quixote, and it's an outsider publisher for outsider stories written by outsider people like me, and it's become a symbol. I guess you'd call it of defiance that I want to speak up for the people who don't speak. I want to be a voice for the people who don't have a voice. And the book, Running as Fast as I Can, is just the
So, are you
beginning of what
planning
we
to
want to
write more
do.
books?
What I'm thinking about right now is an anthology of short stories written by inmates. So they would tell their own short story, and we would put that together. So it would be life from the inside type of approach. But they would also be disciplined to write not just a story, but they would have to write it well, and they'd have to work at it as much as I worked at mine. But so I think they would benefit, but we would
No doubt
benefit
about
from
it.
their story. And Don Quixote Press
So
can
I have
publish that.
written few books, but I haven't published them. So will you help me publish my books?
What I would likely do is I would connect you with people who are much better skilled at it than I, because to be quite candid, publishing is much harder than writing because you have to get the word. The very fact that I learned to speak TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, and there are a million books a year published, and some of them are very good, but it all comes down to making it known and selling. But I would certainly, first thing I would do is I would connect you with an editor who would review it, because everybody has a first draft. It's the final draft that's hard. And that I bled and died over my final drafts. In fact, I rewrote it
Oh man.
24
You
times.
know, nowadays I'm getting invitations for the webinars that come and write your book in one day and half day. And last invite I got was write your book in 10 minutes. So it clearly shows writing book with AI. What is your, I haven't joined any of those webinars, but what is your opinion about that?
I can't speak with authority. I've dabbled in, just looked at it. And I think what AI will do is it will do what I did in my first draft. It will present the factual information. It will be like I walked into the room, I saw the girl standing there, I said hello. She looked pretty to me. That to me is AI writing. But what I had to learn to do was to speak emotionally, to say, I came into the room with these feelings of insecurity. What was the feeling? What were my thoughts? What was my facial expression? When I looked at her, did my heart beat fast? What was my did I think of that girl I hurt last week when I saw this other girl? That's what makes emotional writing. And
Yeah,
only
and
you can
it's
do
better
that,
to
not a
write
computer.
emotional because that is how you can connect with your readers, right? Because that's the only way, because then they can relate to you and then they will be engrossed into your book, because why do you want to write a dry book, right? Yeah.
That's exactly right. There are some very good books out there that 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 simply don't sell because we don't know them. And but the trick, I believe, is how do I make my story known? So I wouldn't look at it to make money. I would look at it to simply share your story and let the story itself sell itself.
So what is your advice for someone who wants to start over late in their career? What is your advice for them to have a second chance?
Uh, Elon Musk was 25, I believe, when he started PayPal. He made his first million or 10 million. Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of Harvard at 19 to do Facebook, and of course now he's worth more money than God has. And and we look at them and say, well, why can't I? Why can't I have the big house that costs $500,000? Why can't I have that truck that costs $70,000? And it's all the wrong questions, because some of us are slow runners simply because we had to start back in the woods because of family, because of education, because of physical limitations, or maybe like Forrest Gump, we have a limp, and he had to learn to run every day to run out his frustration so he could even find the starting line. And they thought he was at best retarded. And he showed them that intelligence has a lot to do with heart more so than the mind. So I would say to people, wherever you are, just walk towards your goal, keep walking, or running, as we say. And as long as you're running, it's a marathon and you will fall down, but get up again and keep running. And I've seen Colonel Sanders, who started Kentucky
Oh,
Fried
yeah, he
Chicken,
was
was
retired and
67
he
years
didn't want
old.
to live on his social security. You are right.
Absolutely right. And the artist Cezanne was, I believe, 42, and thought him at that time he was considered quite old. But and he was ready to quit painting because nobody wanted his works, and his greatest works came after that. So there are those of us who are late bloomers. Don't compare yourself to Zuckerberg or Musk. Compare
Yeah,
yourself
I
to
think there is
yourself.
a statement
Period.
by Dustin Hoffman that, yeah, I got a overnight victory and my overnight was 1 decade. Yeah. So yeah, and I have
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
this
yeah.
from many people.
Sammy Davis
Yeah,
said,
my overnight was 1 decade, 2 decade, and yeah. So many times people don't know how much people are working, how much they are struggling. They just see the success, but they really don't know the back end. That's why I always tell whoever comes as a guest on my podcast, you share struggle and success because struggles will make you real. People will relate to you and then they will have hope. Because if you just share success,
yeah.
yeah, it is good, no doubt. It is good to have success, but then that doesn't give really hope to people who are struggling and going through a lot. So, what is your next plan? What is your next plan?
Well, this project with the inmates, if I can get that approved, that will take a year or more. That could be a major issue. And I'm finding these podcasts to be invigorating because I did this as a way to initially just to promote the book, but what we're promoting is second chances. And most of our talk is about not just Good Samaritan Home, but you and I wanting a second chance. And I'm having a ball doing this. To me, it's like standing over the fence talking to my neighbors, and we're
Yeah,
solving
we
all the
are doing
world's
our
problems.
part. But I want to appreciate even your wife because I have seen in many cases when someone really wants to start a great work, it's not necessary their spouse is with them. And many times divorces happen during that period. I remember even yeah, you can say even McDonald's, Rick Rock, when he wanted to start his franchise, his first wife left him. She said, "You are crazy. What idea you are running with? I don't want to live with you." And she left him. And then later on, another lady believed his work, and then she became his partner. But there are many stories like that. And but your wife always stayed
Yeah.
with you, and she supported you. So do you want to say some words about your wife? Because I really think her, even though right now she is not here in this picture with us, but I think it is she has a great hand in your success. So will you please share some of her support?
Well, let's put it this way. I would not be here today without her, because all her friends and even her pastor said, "Don't marry him. He's a roustabout. He's a rank and
Even
a
pastor
rebel,
told him.
a
Oh
rake
my
and a
goodness.
rebel." And he wouldn't marry us. So I had to find somebody who was. I had to find a pastor that off in the woods somewhere to marry us, and that was 47 years ago. And we have been together not just as married couple, but she is my best friend. And I told her the highest compliment I can give is I feel alone when I'm with you, meaning I feel safe when I'm with you because I like my alone time and I bring nobody into that except my wife. And I remember what she went through when we had no money in the beginning. Our house was being remodeled. One Christmas, I bought her a table saw because that was what we needed, and she accepted that as a gift of affection. And how many times for 14 years while we remodeled that house, she put up with that. And today, she's 81 years old, and today, every day, she's out working for Good Samaritan Home. And what she does is she works circles around my younger staff because of her passion and her feeling of
What a
wanting to give
blessing you
somebody a
have,
second chance.
really.
So Good Samaritan Home would not be here without
So,
her, quite
if someone
frankly.
wants to contact you, the best way to contact you through your website, or are there any other channels where you are active and people can find more of your work? I just want to know how they can find out more.
Well, if you go to the website, it'll link you to. I do a Substack newsletter, and there I give more in-depth conversations about social or political issues. But also, it'll link to the Facebook posts and the Instagram posts. And sometimes I just like to have fun, and sometimes I like to be serious. Like right now, it's a very somber time because everything is so uncertain. So, what I try to do now is to offer some degree of optimism that we will get through this. And the uh, right now, all we're reading is hand wringing, and from the left and the right, and we just don't know what's going to happen. And this is where I think faith comes into play. If you can look beyond politics and see that there is a creator who does have a hand in this, and you're not alone, that to me is the stabilizing
Yeah, so
force that we're
this
looking
I was
for.
asking in both ways. Means if someone wants to help you or if someone wants help from you. So the both way it will work, right? Okay.
Yeah. I I think we don't require faith of our residents. We only ask if they're hungry, but the faith is what motivates my
So
staff and
our
I.
time is almost up, but do you want to give a message to my audience? And so just if you want to recap or if you want to give any message which we didn't cover in our podcast, yeah, please share with us.
In a nutshell, I would say that life is not a sprint; it's a marathon. So you keep running, but don't be afraid to be a dreamer. Be curious. Try a different route. Try something different. And if you fail, get up. Try it again, because at best you've developed calloused hands from falling down, but the calloused hands are actually stronger, but you develop a tender heart, and that is the key
Yeah,
to
so
being a
thank you
success.
for being a guest on our podcast. Thank you for blessing our community. And in any way, if we can be part of your dream, we would love to be. Thank you and God bless you. Yeah, keep up the
I
good
very
work.
much
Thank you.
appreciate this.
You
Thank you, sir.
you have given really inspiring message, and I'm pretty sure because of that, many lives will be changed for good. Thank you. Thank you. God bless. Sure.
Well,
Thank
people
you.
are
Thank
free to
you.
contact me anytime they have a question. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We are blessed to have you as part of our community, and whatever way we can help you, serve you, let us know. Please subscribe and let us know how we can help you, what resources you want. We have lots of free resources and also free collaboration joint venture groups you can join and explode your business, because most solopreneurs quit their business before they launch their first products, and I don't want that to happen to you. And that's why we have special launch service where you can monetize your digitals and become profitable as fast as within 7 days. And if you want to scale your business, join our membership New Beginning Success Collaboration, where we'll provide you MRR and PLR products and collaborations so that you can scale your business with ease and effortlessly and Hey, if you want to sell your digitals all over the world, yes, we will provide you affiliates. More than 200 countries. So everything is possible. Just live your dream, follow your dream, and whichever way we can help you, do let us know. Thank you and God bless you.